It's Thursday night. It's another divisional matchup, and I am graced by the presence of Mr. Brad Allen, the professor. Once again, Prof, we absolutely smashed it up last weekend.
Yeah.
Thursday even. Yeah, forget about the weekend. Thursday, yeah.
Yeah, Browns Steelers. I think we had the under, we had the Browns, and it all worked out nicely for us.
Yeah, one of those weeks. Let's see if we can keep it rolling tonight. Obviously, like I said, another divisional matchup. AFC South. This time the Colts take to the road to take on the Texans. Current betting app Matchbook. You can back the Colts 2.7. The Houston Texans at 1.59. Main handicap here is 1.95. And the Colts getting a 3.5 point start. 45.5 is the total. Prof, I suppose, look, just first of all, with these divisional games, one of the good things about it is that we start getting a bit of a read on how teams play each other because they have played each other for the last couple of years. Now, obviously, we have the dynamic of Jacoby Brissett in there this year. Can we read much into the game literally about a month ago where the Colts won 30-23?
I think we can a little bit. It was quite interesting the way the Colts chose to attack the Texans there. It was Brissett's by far the best game in the season. They've been quite run heavy this year with Marlon Mack and that offensive line. But they saw that the weakness of the Texans is in the secondary. They came out and had Brissett right 39 times. This was after the bye week, 326 yards, 4 touchdowns, and it paid off big time. And then on the other side of the ball, it does seem historically that Watson's had some issues with this cover two. Obviously, his strength, he's throwing these deep balls, these explosive plays with Hopkins and Fuller when he's out there. And the Colts cover two is this kind of shell over the top of it. And he has historically struggled against that. It was a little bit similar when Texans played the Panthers and they just sat in that cover four shell and just didn't let him get the deep balls. And he hasn't really shown enough patience to just dink and dunk all day like a Tom Brady would.
Well, look, let's talk about injuries first of all in this one because you got some big ones. Obviously, we know about J.J. Watt with the Texans. He's gone down a few weeks ago. Will Fuller is one of those ones that's kind of gone under the radar. He's pretty big for their offense because he can stretch out the field. Also, this week, Colts-wise, they're definitely no Marlon Mack, who is 25% of the Colts offense. Also, game time decision for T.Y. Hilton, but he's been out for a few weeks. So, look, which are probably the ones that are kind of throwing up the most amount of red flags for you in this matchup?
Yeah, so it's those two receivers. Well, we'll start on the offensive side of the ball. I'm not too worried about Marlon Mack. He is a running back after all, and you know how we feel about them. But I often like to talk about these field stretchers, these lid lifters, Fuller and T.Y. Hilton, how valuable they are for just opening up everything, just pushing that shell, pushing everything back, keeping a safety or two deep, which leaves so much more space underneath. From what I can see, I would guess both will play. So Fuller's been practicing. I know that they are both questionable at the minute and, you know, nothing's confirmed yet. I think Fuller will play. Hilton seems a bit more up in the air. I was reading today, you know, he's got this kind of 4 checklist that he needs to tickle for. He's with a calf strain, but he was listed. Colts didn't practice, but if they did practice, then he would have practiced, which is generally a good sign. So I would guess that they will both play. On the defensive side of the ball, both teams are pretty banged up in the secondary. But like the Texans are going to be without their starting strong safety, their cornerback Bradley Roby's injured. They've got 4 DBs on the injury list currently. The Colts have got also quite similar issues in the secondary. Pierre Desir didn't practice. Rookie cornerback Rock Yassin, kind of a name. He's likely out from what I can see here. So I think that there's quite a few injuries in the secondary. And if we combine that with the J.J. Watt stuff, the Texans were already bad, as we kind of discussed. You can attack them through the air earlier. And the strength was that defensive line. But without J.J. Watt, that defensive line has fallen off. So they're 26th in sack rate, 22nd in QB hit. In pass rush win rate at ESPN stat, they've dropped to 31st in the NFL, ahead of only the Lions without J.J. Watt. So I think this Texan secondary and defense as a whole is ripe to be carved up, especially if T.Y. plays.
Well, let's talk about the kind of market perception of the Texans first of all. So look ahead to the line for this game about 2 weeks ago was the Texans -6, opened on Sunday night minus 5.5. We're now down to 3.5. Look, we saw that game on Sunday. Both of us are massive fans of the Baltimore Ravens. Could it be a case, Brad, they took that shellacking in Baltimore? Could it be a case that the Baltimore are just that good? Or could it be the alternative that maybe the Texans aren't as good as a lot of people thought?
No, I think it is a case of the Ravens just being the best team in the league currently. They've destroyed everyone they've played. If anyone's listened to the podcast from yesterday already, I just think the Ravens are. You
declared your undying love to the Ravens. I loved it. Yeah.
I would lay 3 points against anyone in the league on a neutral with the Ravens at the minute. Wow. So I think we can write that down a little bit, that performance last week, and I think it's better to look at the season as a whole. This should be the full Texans offensive line, which is sort of top 12 in the league when they've all been there. It will be likely the full complement of receivers if Fuller plays. They'll have Kenny Stills gets to move down into the slot, where he's been a lot more efficient in so far this year when he's played in the slot. Second most efficient of 45 receivers in the slot if he qualified. And then obviously you've got Hopkins on the outside as well, who just is always excellent. For the season, the Texans are second in offensive success rate. Oh no, not their fifth, sorry. Still pretty good. They have dropped after that Baltimore game. They were second. And Indy's actually ninth as well. So you can probably guess where I'm leaning. It will be the over 45.5 would be my preferred play here. As I say, I think Fuller is going to push everything back, and there's enough injuries in the secondaries across the board that we should see both teams move the ball quite nicely. One other little note worth mentioning, well, I guess we can expect some Colts success. After they played the Texans the first time round, and before they played Denver the next week, Frank Reich basically asked his coaches to come in an extra day and start prepping for this game already, because he knew they were going to have a short week. So I do think we're getting a half-point value with the Texans based on these season stats. But given that there probably will be this coaching mismatch, that would be why I prefer to go with the over, kind of get some of that Colts offense on side and be against the Texans defense, as well as having Deshaun and Hopkins on side as well.
Any worries on the Texans offensive line? Because obviously, Deshaun Watson got sacked 7 times on Sunday night. He got hurried 10 times. But I was kind of looking at the flip side of this, Brad. The Colts are actually only averaging about 2 sacks a game anyway. So maybe it's one of those games that just matches up well for Deshaun to get that bit more time. Yeah,
the concern will probably be, I don't know if you were watching the game, that ankle injury that Watson had. Watching it live, it was, that looks bad. But it seems that ankles are quite flexible, perhaps. As for the pass rush and the pressure, as I say, I'm not worried about it. Baltimore, very different defence. They were lining up in dime, just sending blitzes from all over the place. It looked like they confused the Texans, and that's where they got that 6 sacks and got 50% pressure rate. Whereas, as we discussed, the Colts, they're not going to send blitzes from all over the place. They like to sit in that cover 2, rush 4, and they'll basically they'd like you to dump it off 4 yards, and they'll rally to the ball, make the tackle, and hopefully bend but don't break. So I think it's a very different scheme, and it's going to be much more man-on-man, Jimmys versus the Joes, and I think the Texans linemen should hold up better.
All right, the over is the strong play here. Let's look at the current price of matchbook, 45.5 at 1.94. Brad, happy enough with the 45.5? I mean, look, 44 is probably the key number, getting a flat 44, so I think you're kind of in no man's land at 44.5, really, aren't you?
Yeah, I would play this. I would play over 46.5. I would be very surprised if this didn't move up at some point in the day.
Okay, but happy enough to stick on 45.5 just for official recording purposes, because obviously, there's not much, Brad. I'm looking at 46.5, 2.03. It's not, if you're getting 2.1 maybe, but 45.5, 1.94 seems solid enough. Prof, let's have a look at maybe a touchdown score for, maybe have a risk-free one here. And obviously, prior to this, if you haven't got a Matchbook account, you want to sign up to one today, offer.matchbook.com. If your first bet loses, you get a £10 refund, and you can see more details about that on the bottom of the screen right now. Prof, touchdown score And again, the rule is here we have to have double digits. Can't be single digits.
What's DeAndre Hopkins at?
DeAndre Hopkins, 7.8. He's the favourite. You can kind of go from. Go on, go from. I'll let you have this one.
Let me. I'm just looking up end zone stats because you did drop this one on me somewhat. Darren Fells is someone who the Texans go to disproportionately.
Only in the end zone. Only in the end zone.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's right up there in sort of end zone, red zone targets, but he basically doesn't get fed the ball anywhere else. So he would be one. I can't find him on here, but yeah, he would be one that I would go for.
Yeah, he's that Antonio Gates ex-basketball player. He was kind of my one as well, but I'm going to throw another one there. Will Fuller, obviously, we're thinking he's back tonight. And again, he's another guy. He just gets bombs, doesn't he, Bradley? I mean, he's another guy that doesn't play in this West Coast. It's kind of 20 or 30 yards or over or nothing. So, yeah, he's about 14s. Darren Fells there at 17.0. Colts-wise, I mean, look, you've got so many injuries on the offensive side there. It's kind of a hard one.
Yeah, one option could be Eric Ebron. As I say, the Texans starting strong safety, Justin Reed, I think his name is, he's going to be out. And Ebron, he made a little bit of noise a couple of weeks back about not getting enough targets. He probably got 12 the week after, and then he was targeted quite heavily last week before they started blowing the Jags out. So he should have a nice matchup. Should be a high scorer, as I say, and I think Ebron could be one to get a touchdown in there as well.
A shootout in Texas, so Brad. Shootout in Houston. Okay, 45.5. So best bet of the night, Brad.
Best bet of the day, yeah.
Best bet of the day, best bet of the night. Don't forget, if you haven't checked it out already, we recorded the Week 12 main podcast last night. You can check that on a video format now on Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube, or you can download on your preferred betting app. Not betting app, podcast app. Yeah, the preferred betting app is obviously Matchbook. Brad, we're going to be back next week. Thanksgiving football, 3 games to preview. I'll be honest, I'm not getting very excited about the Lions and Bears right now, but the Bills and Cowboys should be pretty good.
Every game of football deserves to be loved, I think.
Especially on Thursday in the end of November.
Oh, yeah. Especially, look, we're all going to be sat down, maybe some turkey, maybe some beers, and it's a much better Thursday than usual, isn't it?
Prof, if we make what we made last year. You really brought it to that for that special podcast last year. You then were over in our head office and we went over a few beers, and everyone in the bar loved Brad Allen. We're back in player props and everything. It was just one of those magical nights, Brad.
Magical. Everything was working, wasn't it? I'm sure
everything was clicking.
We're due to plummet. We're due to just crash and burn this year, I'm sure.
Everything was clicking. Yeah, okay. All right, we'll see you next week, guys. Best of luck with your best for this Thursday night, and we'll see you then.